I was 18 years old when my mother didn't show up to my high school graduation. I waited for her in line, scanning the crowd for her face, but she never came. Later, I discovered she told everyone in our family and friend circle that I had run away from home, that I was a troubled teenager who had disappeared. She used my supposed disappearance to gain sympathy, attention, and even money from concerned people. But I hadn't run away. I was right there, graduating with honors, heading to college, building a life. She simply chose to erase me from her narrative. So I did something radical. I legally changed my name, cut all ties, and disappeared for real. I built a new identity, a new life, far away from her. For 8 years, she had no idea where I was or who I'd become. Until one day, she saw my new name in a newspaper article. I'd become a successful investigative journalist, and I was about to publish an explosive story about charity fraud. And my mother panicked. Because the fraud I was investigating? It was hers. My name is Alexis Carter now, but it used to be Amanda Foster. And this is the story of how my narcissistic mother erased me from her life, how I disappeared for real and built a new identity, and how years later, when she discovered my new name, she realized I was about to expose all her secrets. Let me take you back to June 2016. I was 18 years old, living in Seattle, Washington with my mother, Diane Foster. My father had left when I was 5, and I barely remembered him. It had been just me and my mom for 13 years. But calling Diane a mom feels generous. She was more like a black hole of need, constantly demanding attention, sympathy, and validation from everyone around her. I was an only child, but I was invisible to her unless she could use me as part of some drama. Growing up, Diane constantly told people I was difficult, troubled, rebellious, even though I was actually a quiet, obedient kid who just tried not to cause problems. I got good grades, stayed out of trouble, had a small group of friends. But none of that mattered to Diane. She needed drama, needed to be the victim, needed people to feel sorry for her. It's so hard being a single mother to a troubled teenager, she'd tell her friends, while I was at home studying, getting straight A's, never causing any problems. The truth was, I was invisible to my own mother. She only paid attention to me when she could use me as part of some story to gain sympathy or attention. In the weeks before graduation, I mentioned several times that I wanted her to be there. It's important to me, Mom, I said. I'm graduating with honors. I'm receiving an award. I really want you there. Of course, honey, Diane said absently, looking at her phone. I wouldn't miss it for anything. But I had a bad feeling. My mother had a history of not showing up for important things. She'd missed piano recitals, soccer games, school presentations. There was always an excuse. She was sick, had to work, the car broke down. But I knew the truth. She simply didn't care enough. On graduation day, I got ready alone at home. My mother had left early, saying she had a few things to do, but would be there in time. I went to school, put on my cap and gown, and joined the other graduates. I scanned the crowd of parents and families for my mother. I didn't see her. The ceremony began. I kept looking. Maybe she was running late. Maybe she'd arrive soon. Names started being called. I waited, my heart sinking lower and lower. When my turn came, I walked across the stage, received my diploma and my academic honor award, and looked out at the audience. My mother wasn't there. She'd missed her own daughter's graduation. After the ceremony, I called her. No answer. I texted. No answer. I went home, still wearing my cap and gown, and found the house empty. My mother wasn't there. At 8 o'clock that night, Diane finally came home. Where were you? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. I had the worst day, Diane said, throwing her purse on the couch. My car broke down and I was stuck waiting for a tow truck for hours. It was a nightmare. You missed my graduation, I said. Oh, was that today? Diane said, and I could see she was lying. She knew it was today. She simply hadn't cared enough to go. Yes, it was today, I said, my voice breaking. I told you multiple times. I texted you this morning reminding you. You missed it. You missed my graduation. Well, I'm sorry, Diane said, not sounding sorry at all. But my car broke down. It wasn't my fault. You could have taken an Uber. You could have called someone. You could have done something, I said, tears flowing now. But you didn't. Because you don't care. Don't be dramatic, Diane said, rolling her eyes. It's just a graduation. It's not a big deal. It was a big deal to me, I said. But you never care about what's important to me. You only care about yourself. Diane got angry. I'm a single mother working hard to support you. You're so ungrateful. I do everything for you and you don't appreciate anything. It was always like this. Always turning things around, making herself the victim, making me feel guilty for having feelings. I went to my room and cried. I realized in that moment that my mother was never going to change. She was never going to be the mother I needed. And I needed to get out. In the days following graduation, something strange started happening. I began receiving messages from distant relatives and family friends asking if I was okay, saying they were worried about me. Your mother said you ran away from home, my Aunt Karen wrote. She's so worried. Please let us know you're safe. I was confused. Ran away. I was right there at home, preparing to go to college in the fall. I confronted my mother. Why are you telling people I ran away? Diane looked slightly guilty but quickly recovered. I didn't say you ran away. I said you were being rebellious and I was worried you might run away. People must have misunderstood. No, I said, showing her the messages. They're specifically saying you told them I ran away. Why would you lie about that? I didn't lie, Diane insisted. You're twisting my words. But I knew the truth. My mother was using a fictional runaway story to gain attention and sympathy. It was the perfect drama. Worried single mother with missing teenage daughter. Diane was loving the attention. Over the following weeks, the lie grew. Diane posted on Facebook about her missing daughter, asking for prayers and support. People I didn't even know were sharing the post, offering help, even donating money to help with the costs of searching for Amanda. But I was right there. I was at home, working my summer job, preparing for college. I wasn't missing. My mother was simply using me as part of an elaborate attention grab. I realized something disturbing. My mother was making money from this. People were donating to a GoFundMe that Diane had created, supposedly to hire private investigators and print flyers. But I knew no investigators were being hired. My mother was simply pocketing the money. It was fraud. And I was furious. I confronted her again. You're telling people I'm missing and accepting money from them. This is fraud. You need to stop. You don't understand, Diane said. People want to help. It makes them feel better when they can do something. I'm not hurting anyone. You're lying to them, I said. And you're using me. I'm right here. I'm not missing. You need to tell the truth. If I tell the truth now, I'll look like an idiot, Diane said. Everyone will think I lied. You did lie, I pointed out. Diane got angry. You know what your problem is? You have no empathy. You don't understand how hard it is for me to be a single mother. You don't appreciate anything I do. It was useless. My mother was never going to admit she was wrong, never going to stop the lie. So I made a decision. If my mother wanted to pretend I'd disappeared, then I would disappear for real. I was 18 now. I was legally an adult. I didn't have to stay. I started planning. I had money saved from my summer job. I had a full scholarship to college. I didn't need anything from my mother. In August, 2 weeks before starting college, I did something radical. I legally changed my name. I went to the courthouse, filled out the paperwork, and changed my name from Amanda Foster to Alexis Carter. Alexis was my middle name, and Carter was my grandmother's maiden name, the only person in the family who'd been kind to me before she died. With my new name, I opened new bank accounts, got a new driver's license, created new social media profiles. I deleted all my old profiles, blocked everyone I knew from my old life, including my mother. And then I moved to Portland, Oregon for college, and never looked back. I didn't tell my mother I was leaving. I just left. I left a short note. You wanted me to disappear. So I disappeared. Don't look for me. Alexis. And I was gone. The first few months in Portland were strange. I felt like I was living someone else's life. I was Alexis Carter now, not Amanda Foster. I was a college freshman at Portland State University, studying journalism. I had a dorm room, new friends who knew nothing about my past, a clean slate. It was liberating and terrifying at the same time. I wondered sometimes if my mother was looking for me, if she'd reported me missing to the police. But I was 18, a legal adult. The police wouldn't force me to go back. And honestly, I doubted she was looking very hard. She was probably still enjoying the attention from my disappearance. I threw myself into my studies. Journalism felt like the right fit for me. I'd always been observant, always noticed when people were lying or hiding something. Growing up with a narcissistic mother had taught me to read people, to see through manipulation. I was good at asking questions, digging for truth, not accepting surface explanations. My professors noticed. You have a real talent for investigative work, my journalism professor, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, told me during my sophomore year. Have you thought about specializing in investigative journalism? I had. I was fascinated by stories of fraud, corruption, people who lied and manipulated for personal gain. I wonder why. I started working for the college newspaper, writing investigative pieces about campus issues. I exposed a professor who was plagiarizing student work. I uncovered financial mismanagement in the student government. I wrote about a local business that was scamming students. I was relentless, thorough, and I didn't back down when people tried to intimidate me. By my junior year, I was the editor of the investigative section. By my senior year, I'd won several collegiate journalism awards. When I graduated in 2020, I had job offers from 3 different newspapers. I chose the Portland Tribune, a respected local paper with a strong investigative team. I started as a junior reporter, but I quickly proved myself. I broke stories about local government corruption, business fraud, non-profit mismanagement. I had a nose for finding liars and exposing them. In 2022, I won a regional journalism award for a series I wrote exposing a fake veterans charity that had stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations. The story went viral, the charity was shut down, and the people running it went to prison. That story changed my career. Suddenly, I wasn't just a local reporter. I was getting attention from national publications. I was offered a position at a larger paper, the Seattle Times, covering investigative stories across the Pacific Northwest. Seattle. My hometown. The place I'd left 8 years ago. I hesitated. Did I want to go back? What if I ran into my mother? But then I thought, I'm not Amanda Foster anymore. I'm Alexis Carter. I'm a successful journalist with a new name, a new life. My mother wouldn't even recognize me if she saw me. I took the job. I moved back to Seattle in early 2023. It felt strange being back in the city where I'd grown up, but I was a different person now. I had short hair instead of long. I dressed differently. I carried myself with confidence I'd never had as a teenager. I was unrecognizable. I rented an apartment in a different neighborhood from where I'd grown up, far from my mother's house. I had no intention of seeking her out or letting her know I was back. As far as I was concerned, Diane Foster was part of a past life that no longer existed. I focused on my work. The Seattle Times gave me freedom to pursue the stories I wanted. I investigated corporate fraud, political corruption, non-profit scams. I was building a reputation as a journalist who couldn't be bought, couldn't be intimidated, and always got the story. In the fall of 2023, I got a tip that would change everything. A source contacted me about a woman in Seattle who'd been running a charity fraud for years. She'd been collecting donations supposedly to search for her missing daughter, but the daughter had never actually been missing. The woman had made up the entire story and had been pocketing tens of thousands of dollars in donations. My source sent me the woman's name. Diane Foster. My mother. I sat at my desk, staring at the name on my screen, my heart pounding. My mother was still running the scam. 8 years later, she was still pretending I was missing, still collecting money from people, still lying. I felt sick. And then I felt angry. And then I felt something else. Determined. This was my story to tell. I was an investigative journalist. This was what I did. I exposed frauds and liars. And my mother was both. I started investigating. I created a fake Facebook profile and joined the Help Find Amanda Foster group that my mother had created years ago. There were hundreds of members, people who'd been following the search for years. My mother posted regular updates about her ongoing search, about new leads, about how hard it was to keep hoping after so many years. It was all lies. Every word. I dug deeper. I found the GoFundMe, which was still active. Over the past 8 years, my mother had raised over $70,000. $70,000 from well-meaning people who thought they were helping search for a missing girl. Amanda doesn't exist anymore. You made sure of that. What have you done? She screamed. You've ruined my life. Everyone thinks I'm a criminal. The police are investigating me. How could you do this to your own mother? How could I do this? I repeated, my voice cold. How could you do what you did? You used me. You lied about me for 8 years. You made money off a fake story about me being missing. You turned my life into a scam. I was worried about you, she insisted. You left without telling me where you were going. I didn't know if you were safe. I left you a note, I said. I told you I was leaving. I told you not to look for me. You knew I wasn't missing. You just chose to pretend I was because it got you attention and money. That's not true, Diane said, but her voice was weak. She knew I had her. I have evidence of everything, I said. Bank records showing the $70,000 you raised. Screenshots of your Facebook posts. Videos of your interviews. I have the note I left you. I have documentation of my name change, my college enrollment, everything. You knew I wasn't missing. You just didn't care because the lie was more profitable than the truth. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then, you're my daughter. How can you be so cruel? I laughed, a bitter sound. I'm cruel? You missed my high school graduation. You told everyone I ran away when I didn't. You used my name and face to scam people out of money for 8 years. You turned my existence into a commodity. And you're calling me cruel. I'm your mother, she said, and I could hear her crying now. I raised you. I took care of you. And this is how you repay me. You didn't raise me, I said. You used me. There's a difference. And now you're facing the consequences of your actions. The police are investigating you for fraud. People are demanding their money back. Your reputation is destroyed. And you did this to yourself. Please, she begged. Please make this go away. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you were missing and now you're found. Please, Amanda. My name is Alexis, I said. And no, I'm not going to lie for you. I'm not going to protect you. You made your choices. Now you live with them. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt a sense of relief. I'd finally stood up to her. I'd finally told the truth. Over the following weeks, the story continued to dominate local news. The police investigation moved forward. The district attorney's office announced they were considering criminal charges for fraud and theft. People who donated to the GoFundMe filed a class action lawsuit to recover their money. My mother hired a lawyer who tried to spin the story, claiming it was all a misunderstanding, that Diane had genuinely believed I was missing. But the evidence was overwhelming. The note I'd left. The fact that I'd legally changed my name and enrolled in college, all public records. The fact that she'd continued fundraising for 8 years without ever filing a police report about me being missing. It was clear she'd known I wasn't actually missing. She'd just found the lie more profitable than the truth. In May 2024, my mother was charged with multiple counts of fraud and theft. She pleaded not guilty, but her lawyer advised her that going to trial would likely result in a longer sentence. In July, she accepted a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to fraud and was sentenced to 3 years in prison and ordered to pay back all the money she'd raised, plus fines and penalties. It totaled over $100,000. Her house was put up for sale to pay the restitution. Her reputation was destroyed. Her friends abandoned her. She lost everything. And I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not revenge, just emptiness. This woman who'd given birth to me, who was supposed to love and protect me, had used me for profit. And now she was paying the price. But it didn't make me feel better. It just made me feel sad. Sad for the childhood I'd never had. Sad for the mother I'd never had. Sad for the relationship that had never existed. I went to therapy to process everything. My therapist helped me understand that what I'd experienced was a form of abuse. Narcissistic abuse, where a parent uses their child as an extension of themselves, as a tool to get what they want, rather than as a separate person deserving of love and respect. You did the right thing, my therapist told me. You exposed the truth. You held her accountable. That took incredible courage. Then why don't I feel better? I asked. Because you're grieving, she said. You're grieving the mother you should have had. The mother you deserved. And that's a real loss, even if that mother never actually existed. She was right. I was grieving. Not for Diane Foster, the woman who'd used me, but for the mother I'd never had. The mother who should have shown up to my graduation. The mother who should have been proud of me. The mother who should have loved me unconditionally. That mother had never existed. And I had to accept that. In August 2024, I received a letter from my mother. She was in prison now, serving her sentence. The letter was long and rambling, full of apologies and excuses and justifications. I know I made mistakes, she wrote. I know I hurt you. But I was struggling. I was a single mother with no support. I was desperate for connection, for people to care about me. The attention I got from the missing daughter story made me feel important, made me feel like I mattered. I know that doesn't excuse what I did. But I want you to understand why I did it. I was lonely and desperate, and I made terrible choices. I'm sorry, Amanda. I'm so sorry. Can you ever forgive me? I read the letter 3 times. And then I wrote back. Dear Diane, I received your letter. I understand that you were lonely and desperate. I understand that you wanted attention and connection. But what you don't seem to understand is that you had a daughter who could have given you real connection. I was right there. I wanted a relationship with you. I wanted you to be proud of me, to show up for me, to love me. But you couldn't see me because you were too focused on yourself. You used me instead of loving me. You turned me into a character in your drama instead of treating me like a real person with real feelings. That's not something I can forgive. Not because I'm cruel, but because forgiveness requires acknowledgement of harm. And I don't think you truly understand the harm you caused. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry you're in prison. But I don't think you're sorry for what you did to me. You're still making it about you, about your loneliness, your desperation, your needs. You're still not seeing me. So no, I can't forgive you. But I can move forward. I can build a life without you. I can be the person I was meant to be, free from your manipulation and lies. I hope you use your time in prison to reflect on your choices and become a better person. But that's your journey, not mine. Mine is already underway. Alexis Carter. I sent the letter and felt a weight lift. I was done. Done trying to get her to understand. Done hoping she'd change. Done waiting for the mother I deserved. I was free. My career continued to flourish. The story about my mother had made me a nationally recognized journalist. I received job offers from major publications. I won a prestigious journalism award for investigative reporting. I was invited to speak at journalism conferences about ethics, truth-telling, and the personal cost of investigative work. I wrote a book about my experience, titled The Daughter Who Disappeared, a journalist's investigation into her own missing person case. It became a bestseller. I used the proceeds to start a foundation that helped young people escaping abusive family situations, providing resources for legal name changes, housing assistance, and educational scholarships. I turned my pain into purpose. In 2025, I met someone. Her name was Jordan, and she was a therapist who specialized in family trauma. We met at a conference where we were both speaking. We connected immediately, bonding over our shared understanding of complex family dynamics and the healing process. Jordan understood me in a way no one else had. She understood the grief of losing a parent who was still alive. She understood the complexity of holding someone accountable while still processing your own pain. She understood that healing wasn't linear, that some days I was fine and some days I was angry and some days I was just sad. We started dating, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly seen. Not as a tool, not as a character in someone else's story, but as a whole person with my own needs, feelings, and dreams. "You're amazing," Jordan told me one night as we sat on her couch, drinking wine and talking about everything and nothing. "You survived something terrible and you turned it into something meaningful. You help people. You tell the truth. You're exactly who you were meant to be." "I don't always feel amazing," I admitted. "Sometimes I feel broken. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever fully heal from what she did." "Healing isn't about becoming unbroken," Jordan said. "It's about learning to live with the breaks, to integrate them into who you are. Your experiences shaped you. They made you empathetic, observant, determined. They made you a great journalist and a compassionate person. You're not broken. You're whole, just in a different way than you expected." I cried then, letting out years of pain and grief and anger. And Jordan held me, not trying to fix me, just being there. That's what love was supposed to be. Not using someone, not needing them to be something they weren't, just accepting them exactly as they were. In September 2025, I received notification that my mother was being released from prison early for good behavior. She'd served 2 years of her 3-year sentence. I felt anxious about it. What if she tried to contact me? What if she showed up at my apartment? What if she tried to insert herself back into my life? My therapist helped me prepare. "You have boundaries now," she reminded me. "You're not that 18-year-old girl anymore. You're a successful adult with a career, a partner, a life. You don't owe her anything. If she contacts you, you can choose not to respond. You have the power now." She was right. I did have the power. A week after her release, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "From Mom." I almost deleted it without reading it. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. "Dear Alexis, I'm out of prison now. I've had a lot of time to think about what I did and who I was. I've been in therapy, working on understanding my narcissistic behaviors and the harm I caused. I know I can't undo the past. I know I can't make up for missing your graduation, for lying about you, for using you. I know I was a terrible mother. I don't expect you to forgive me or to have a relationship with me. I just want you to know that I'm sorry. Truly sorry. Not sorry I got caught, but sorry for what I did to you. You deserved better. You deserved a mother who showed up, who was proud of you, who loved you unconditionally. I failed at all of that. I'm working on being a better person now. I got a job at a grocery store. I'm living in a small apartment. I'm going to therapy twice a week. I'm trying to make amends where I can, paying back the people I hurt. I'm not asking for anything from you. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. I see what an incredible person you've become. I read your book. I'm so proud of you, even though I have no right to be. You did all of that without me, despite me. You're amazing. I hope you're happy. I hope you've found peace. You deserve all the good things in life. Love, Diane. I read the email 3 times. It sounded different from her previous letter. More self-aware. More genuine. Less about her and more about me. Maybe she had changed. Maybe prison and therapy had helped her see what she'd done. But it didn't change anything for me. I was glad she was working on herself. I was glad she was in therapy. But I didn't want a relationship with her. Too much had happened. Too much trust had been broken. Some things couldn't be repaired. I wrote back one final time. Diane, thank you for your email. I'm glad you're working on yourself and getting help. I genuinely hope you continue on that path and become the person you want to be. But I need you to understand that I don't want a relationship with you. Not now, and probably not ever. What you did caused deep harm that I'm still healing from. I've built a good life without you, and I need to protect that life and my peace. I wish you well, but from a distance. Please don't contact me again. I need you to respect this boundary. If you truly have changed, you'll understand and honor this request. Take care of yourself. Alexis. I sent the email and then blocked her address. I felt a finality in that action. I was closing the door on that chapter of my life for good. Jordan asked me how I felt about it. Sad, I admitted, but also relieved. I gave her a chance to be a real mother, and she couldn't do it. That's not my fault. That's not my responsibility to fix. I can let it go now. You can, Jordan agreed. You've done everything you could. You told the truth. You held her accountable. You set boundaries. You've healed. That's all you can do. She was right. I had done everything I could. The rest was up to Diane. In October 2025, almost exactly 9 years after my mother had missed my graduation, I received an award from the National Press Club for investigative journalism. It was one of the highest honors in my field. The ceremony was in Washington, D.C., and Jordan came with me. When they called my name, I walked up to the stage, accepted the award, and looked out at the audience of journalists, editors, and media professionals. Thank you for this incredible honor, I said. Investigative journalism is about telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's personal. 9 years ago, I was a teenager whose mother missed her high school graduation. Today, I'm a journalist who exposed that same mother's fraud and held her accountable. That journey taught me that the truth matters, that accountability matters, and that we all have the power to write our own stories, not the stories others try to write for us. This award isn't just for me. It's for everyone who's ever been used, manipulated, or erased by someone who was supposed to love them. It's for everyone who's ever had to build a new life from scratch. It's for everyone who's ever chosen truth over comfort. Thank you. The audience stood and applauded. Jordan was crying in the front row, proud and beaming. I felt a sense of completion. I'd taken my pain and turned it into purpose. I'd taken my mother's lies and exposed them with truth. I'd taken my erasure and made myself visible on my own terms. After the ceremony, a young woman approached me. She looked nervous. Ms. Carter, I'm sorry to bother you, but I wanted to thank you. I read your book and it changed my life. My mother is a narcissist too. She's been using me for years, making up stories about me to get attention. I didn't know how to stop it. But your book showed me that I could. I'm 18 now. I'm planning to change my name and go to college far away, just like you did. I wanted to thank you for showing me it was possible. I hugged her, tears in my eyes. You're going to be okay, I told her. It's hard, but you're strong. You can build a beautiful life. I promise. Did you ever stop being angry at your mother? She asked. Sometimes I'm so angry I can't breathe. The anger fades, I said. It takes time, and therapy, and distance. But eventually, you realize that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. You let it go, not for them, but for yourself. You deserve peace. You deserve happiness. And you can have those things, but you have to choose them over the anger. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Thank you. You gave me hope. After she left, Jordan put her arm around me. You're changing lives, she said. That's pretty amazing. I'm just telling the truth, I said. That's all I've ever done. That's everything, Jordan said. We flew back to Seattle the next day. As the plane descended, I looked out the window at the city where I'd grown up, where I'd been erased, where I'd disappeared and then reappeared as someone new. I thought about Amanda Foster, that scared 18-year-old who'd been invisible to her own mother. She was gone now. She'd been gone for 9 years. In her place was Alexis Carter, a woman who'd built herself from scratch, who'd turned pain into purpose, who'd chosen truth over comfort every single time. I thought about my mother, Diane Foster, living in a small apartment, working at a grocery store, trying to rebuild a life after prison. I didn't hate her anymore. I didn't love her either. I just felt neutral. She was a person who'd made terrible choices and was now living with the consequences. That was her story, not mine. My story was different. My story was about survival, about reinvention, about finding your voice and using it to tell the truth. My story was about building a family of choice, not blood. Jordan, my friends, my colleagues, the young people I mentored through my foundation. Those were my people. That was my family. As we landed, Jordan squeezed my hand. Welcome home, she said. Yeah, I said, smiling. Home. And it was. Not because of the city, but because of the life I'd built there. The career I loved. The partner who saw me. The purpose I'd found. I disappeared 9 years ago, erased by a mother who couldn't see past her own needs. But I'd reappeared as someone stronger, someone truer, someone whole. My mother had wanted me to disappear. And I had. But not in the way she'd expected. I'd disappeared from her narrative and written my own. And my story was just beginning. That night, Jordan and I sat on the balcony of our apartment, drinking wine and watching the city lights. Do you ever regret it? Jordan asked. Exposing your mother? Publishing the story? No, I said without hesitation. She needed to be held accountable. People needed to know the truth. And I needed to take my power back. I don't regret it at all. Even though it meant losing your mother forever. I lost her a long time ago, I said. Or maybe I never really had her. You can't lose something you never had. Jordan nodded, understanding. You know what I think, she said. I think you're the bravest person I've ever met. You faced your worst fear, your own mother, and you didn't back down. You told the truth even when it was painful. That's real courage. I just did what needed to be done, I said. That's what journalists do. We tell the truth. You're more than a journalist, Jordan said. You're a survivor. You're a fighter. You're someone who turns pain into purpose. That's rare. I leaned my head on her shoulder, feeling grateful. Grateful for this life I'd built. Grateful for this woman who loved me. Grateful for the courage I'd found to tell my story. My mother had tried to erase me. But I'd written myself back into existence, on my own terms, with my own name, with my own truth. And that was the greatest revenge of all. Not hurting her, not destroying her, but simply existing. Thriving. Succeeding. Being happy. Living a life so full and beautiful that her absence didn't matter. That's what I'd done. And I was proud of it. My name is Alexis Carter. I'm an investigative journalist, a best-selling author, a survivor of narcissistic abuse, and a woman who chose truth over comfort every single time. My mother tried to make me disappear. Instead, I disappeared on my own terms and came back stronger. This is my story. And I'm still writing it.